Welcome to ViviTalks. I'm Vivienne Aerts. Join me in celebrating 100 talented female musicians from my last album, type of thing. Empowering female cacao farmers in Congo's Virunga State Park and restoring the rainforest. Delve into the musical journeys, creative processes, and unique perspectives of these talented women that were involved in the making of this album. Cobby Brzeski is a naturally touring multi-instrumental, multi-genre flutist, vocalist, and songwriter hailing from Naples, Florida. Cobby's firm grasp of harmony and playful melody writing has inspired a fresh new look on music in the styles of jazz, alternative pop, and R&B. Cobby has performed her music all over the East and West Coast and has been gaining recognition as an emerging artist. She's a 2018 graduate of Berklee College of Music and a 2013 graduate of Interlochen Arts Academy and a 2023 San Diego Music Award nominee for Best Jazz Album. Cobby is currently based in San Diego, California, and is working on her newest album, Florida Sunshine, which will be a 12-song album that returns her back to her singer-songwriter roots. Listen to our conversation as we talk about her new album, her inspirations, and her work with different bands. Welcome, Cobby, to my official ViviTalks podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Finally, it's been a while that we saw each other. We met back in the day at Berklee, and I'm excited to hear all about you. But first, love to learn and talk a little bit about your background, where you're from, what do you do, so my audience gets to know you a little bit.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Cobby. I'm from Naples, Florida, originally. I went to Berklee College of Music. Before that, I went to Interlochen Arts Academy for a year. So I did 6 years total of music school. I majored in songwriting and pro music at Berklee, and I turned a double major into a triple by doing songwriting, flute performance, and voice performance. And then after Berklee, I moved to San Diego, California, and I've been here for 5 years now. And I sing, I play the flute, I play guitar, I write my own music in a multitude of different genres, and I'm mainly a performing and recording artist out here.
Awesome. I love you to describe your music a little bit because I really love what you do, but how would you describe it to your audience
Thank you.
so they
Yeah.
have a clue?
So I have two main projects right now. I have my 1940s swing band, um, which is I do both original music and standards, with like a 6 to 7 piece band. And my yeah, that's my Vintage Girl in a Modern World
So
band.
that's piano, bass, drums, horns,
Yeah,
voice.
and guitar. Yeah.
Nice.
And my other band is my pop singer songwriter band, which is my Florida Sunshine band. And yeah, that's piano, bass, guitar, keys, and me. And I primarily do original music in that band, but also covers as well when it's needed. And I write in all genres from like I mentioned, like 1940 style swing music to like modern day pop and R&B and soul, like folky singer-songwriter stuff too. I'm all over the map. I just love doing it all. But I was primarily um, a folk singer-songwriter. That's how I started out, and I
Hmm.
eventually branched out to all these other genres through going to Berklee and being exposed to everything.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit your upbringing. So you grew up playing the flute, or did you grow and you went to everybody starts singing when they're a kid. So how do
Yeah.
you?
So I actually grew up as a classical violinist. I started
Oh,
violin at 5. Um, and I learned to play by ear for the first 5 years of my training, and then learned to read music. I learned through the Suzuki method.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then once I got to middle school, I had the option of doing band or orchestra, and I wanted to do band and learn a new instrument. And I thought I was gonna play drums because the year before, I had this vision of like I want to play the drums, and my parents even got me a drum set, and I would play on it in my garage. And then once I got to middle school band, I tried all the instruments, and the flute was the only one that I could make a sound on. And I'm like, wow, like I want to play this one instead. And best decision I ever made. Is the instrument I connected with most other than singing. Um, and so yeah, that began my journey with the flute when I was 11. Then I went on to pick up guitar a couple years later. My sister like gave me her old guitar, and I just kind of started teaching myself, and it was a little bit similar to violin because I was already used to playing a string instrument. I eventually stopped playing violin after 11 years. It wasn't my true passion, and flute and songwriting were my true passions. So I fostered those as a teenager, and
Mm-hmm.
then went on to pursue all of that in college.
Amazing. So, and then how did you get into jazz?
So I was in my high school jazz band, and I also played trumpet.
Ah,
I had to play a quote unquote jazz band instrument in order to join the jazz band because they
oh,
didn't have flute parts, and there was
right.
only like one song in the entire thing, like my entire time there, that they had a flute part for. But otherwise, they let me play flute solos. So
Mm-hmm.
I got to play both trumpet and flute in my jazz band.
Mm-hmm.
And in high school jazz band, you don't really learn how to play jazz truly, like you're just playing charts and stuff, and you learn the blues scale. And so I was curious to really learned what jazz is all about and how to play it, and so that's what led me to pursue it in music school. And my mom also introduced me to the music of Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday, Louis
Mm-hmm.
Armstrong, and the moment I first listened to them, I'm just like, wow, this music is incredible, and I just immediately became super passionate about it and did a deep dive into jazz, and that was kind of like my platform for like learning improvised music, and just in general that became like my new roots, as I like to
Mm,
call it, once I went to music school.
amazing. Then how did you get into writing?
um it sort of just happened. It happened around the same time I started to play guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I kind of like started out writing poetry, and then I realized like, wait, I can put music to this. And I also was around that time listening to like these underground singer-songwriters that like not really many people knew about, but they were relatively like young kids, like around my age, and I'm like, wow, like these people are only like a year or two older than me, and like they're writing their own music and putting it out there, and like I found that to be super inspiring, and I'm like, I want to do the same thing. And so then yeah, throughout high school, like writing songs became like a very like cathartic thing for me, because like when we're teenagers we feel a lot of emotions. And so my like songwriting became like my diary, so to speak. It was a
Wow.
way for me to process my emotions and put them out
Uh-huh.
there, and it always just felt really great to do that, and so magical. And I just got hooked on the magic, and I never stopped since.
Amazing. So you're still right. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about your creative approach. How do you write? What do you do? Do you sit down? Do you walk around with your voice memo, or did you scribble?
Most of the time, I'm just struck with inspiration at random moments.
Mm,
Um, a lot of the time nowadays, it's kind of like having a radio in my head. Something will just come to me out of nowhere. And I'm
mm,
like, oh, I gotta write that down. I grab my phone and I start a voice memo and I record the idea. It's usually the choruses of songs that come to me first. I'll hear a melody and lyrics at the same time, and then I write it down, and then I go from there, and I'll sit down and take the time to like about like what I want my verses to be and the rest of the song form and all that. So yeah, the first initial spark of the song is always just an idea that just comes to me from nowhere, and then usually for the rest I have to sit down and plan it out and think about it.
yeah,
And
cool,
oftentimes I get most inspired when I'm hanging out in nature and going for walks and stuff.
amazing. And can you describe one of your songs or lyrics, or what are they about? And did they change over time?
Yeah, well, a majority of my songs are usually love songs, love and heartbreak and all the
Oh,
emotions that come through that, because, oftentimes those are the strongest emotions that we feel
uh-huh.
in life. But as I've gotten older, I started to write songs about other topics too, just like overcoming struggles in life and like learning to let go and um become more of yourself, and I don't know, just those kinds of topics that don't have anything to do with romantic love.
Mm,
So I'm writing a little bit more diversely as an adult now.
yeah. And then when you perform those songs, is there like can you describe a moment when your music had some impact, or do people relate, or what? How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, usually, people, I always get a really good response from people, and they come up to me afterwards and they'll tell me that they love my songs and that like it really impacted them in some way, and that always just means so much to me that I've always gotten positive reception for my music, so I guess I'm doing something right. And a lot of the times my friends will tell me, like specifically my musician friends who I play with or just my musician friends who have heard my music, they'll oftentimes tell me like, man, your song has been stuck in my head all week. So that's always one of the best compliments to get too.
Like they're earworms. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
agree. Some of these songs really stick. And sometimes I'm like, she really wrote this, but it sounds like a standard. It's like a song. It sounds like a song
Thank
that was
you.
already written. Oh, yeah. I think it's so cool that you get to that spot where
Thank you so
it sounds
much.
familiar, but it's new, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's
then
what
people
I aim to
can
create.
relate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So I was wondering, do you also teach, and what's your vision on that?
So I don't teach currently, but if anyone ever approached me and really specifically wanted to study from me, I would definitely say yes to that.
But you have been teaching, right?
Not really. Like every once in a rare while, I get called to like do a little mini master class at a school or
Mm-hmm.
something, or like um with like a few flutists or like teach a random like spot lesson here. Um, but yeah, I haven't done too much, but every once in a while it happens. I did a vocal scatting clinic actually at a local high school here in San Diego earlier
Mm-hmm.
this year, and that was a lot of fun.
So you do teach. It's
A
but
little
yeah,
bit,
it
yeah.
does sound you're way too
Yeah.
busy performing because you
Yeah,
gig
that's
a
my main
lot, right?
focus. Yeah.
So what kind of or what kind of gigs do or how does that work?
So most of my gigs, since moving here have been like restaurants, hotels, bars, wineries, um, and corporate events. Um, and this year I've been getting a few more ticketed events in the books, and I played at the San Diego County Fair over the summer, and I'm about to play it at the Del Mar Food and Wine Festival with my band. So I'm very excited to be getting more gigs with my full band and specifically being able to showcase my original music. So I hope I keep having more of those come in because that's really what I aim to be doing full
Right.
time. Because most of the restaurant gigs are just like duo or trio, and it's like a mix of covers and originals, and people are paying like half attention or maybe not much attention at all if it's like a really busy restaurant and they're just engaged in talking and stuff.
It is a great place to workshop your music, right? To test out new
Yes,
stuff and see if it's,
absolutely.
yeah. I mean, getting
Yeah.
the opportunities to sing every night, pretty much, that's amazing, right?
Yeah. So not to dismiss that, but yeah, that has been also like so helpful over the last 5 years. I feel like I really sharpened my skills as a performer and sharpened my arrangements as well and just my overall musicality by having these experiences to perform in restaurants. So like it's definitely like such an invaluable stepping stone where like
Yeah,
I feel like it's really prepared me for like bit higher level performances and venues for down the road.
yeah. Awesome. So, what advice would you give young musicians starting out or
Oh man, there's so many things I could say. Um, okay, I'll give a couple main points that are coming to me. Um, always try to find your own voice and put that out there. Don't try to be someone else. It's great to learn from the greats, but take the little bits and pieces of that, the other artists that resonate with you, and find a way to work that into your own voice. Don't become them,
Mm,
but they can absolutely be an influence to what you already bring to the table, and that's what's going to really make you unique. And people, like your audiences in general, like they want to see something unique, and you don't have to try hard to be unique. You just have to be you because you're already inherently unique by nature. So
mm,
just be you, and people are going to love you no matter what, just for being yourself. As long as you're making music that comes from the heart, people are always going to feel that. So you can't go wrong with that. Um, and the other thing I was going to say is I think one of the most important things is to create a career where you have just the right balance of like career and life. Like you never want to sacrifice your happiness or your health in whatever you do. And I think it's so important to prioritize your health and your happiness above success in your career. And really success is whatever you define it to be. Um, like I think a lot of artists get stuck in the trap of thinking that you have to be XYZ, like you have to be like famous and rich and have bajillion fans to be successful, but that's not true. Like I've had to reevaluate my own definition of success multiple times and keep continually reminding myself like I am a successful person not because of whatever status my career is at, but because of who I am as a person, and because of like my health and my happiness and the people that I have in my life, and the musical opportunities that I get to have through my career. Like success can be defined as like all of it. I think success should just be generally defined as like happy living regardless of what you're doing in all areas of life.
Yeah, that's so well put. Find that balance and
Yeah.
yeah, stay true to what you want to do, instead of just following a picture that you paint. That might be,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, well, thanks for sharing that.
Of
Um,
course. Yeah.
I love to switch gears a little bit,
Hmm.
because you're on my album singing on that
Yeah.
first song, Just Go, and it's with a gazillion women. And I'd love to hear a little bit about your vision, or, have you faced any stereotypes or biases being a female musician? And how did you challenge or overcome them, if so?
Yeah. I feel very fortunate that I actually haven't faced any stereotypes or challenges as a female musician. The one thing I can say was like maybe like back when I was like still studying in school, like I wasn't like the sharpest jazz musician back then because I was still learning. So like people wouldn't really be like calling me for stuff, and I sort of felt left out, but nobody like directly like said anything bad, but you can sort of tell like in the way that like people act around other people, and yeah, I don't know. um, but yeah, no, I've never really, like, as a professional musician since starting my career, I've always felt like very respected, um, and treated as an equal in the community. And yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, very fortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna cut this out. I'm just checking out my questions. Um, yes. How do you balance uh s- how do you balance between staying true to your artistic vision and meeting any commercial expectations?
Um, that's a good question. So I believe in creating a balance of both. I spent a lot of time like listening to a lot of commercial music out there. Like one, I enjoy listening to that, and two, like I'm also, studying that and observing like what elements of that do I potentially want to bring into my future recordings.
Mm,
And I think I yeah, my vision is to like create the balance between like my authentic voice and my authentic vision, and in combination with like some of those commercial elements, but never to like sell my soul, so to speak, to the commercialism in the industry, in terms of like, there's a lot of pop music out there that's very like um very produced, you know what I mean? Um and I like having the elements of like being produced but also organic sounding. And so I think I see success for myself in doing that,
mm,
because I think people are going to gravitate towards that. I think a lot of people in general are tired of like the more like processed elements of commercial music. It's kind of like candy or junk food with all processed stuff,
mm-hmm.
artificial ingredients. Um, yeah, people want more organic mixed in
Yeah.
there as well. So that's my approach.
Yeah, I think people nowadays they want more real stuff because there's this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about projects that are coming up. What are you excited about?
So I earlier this year I recorded my first pop singer-songwriter album,
Ooh,
and it's called Florida Sunshine. I recorded 13 songs. One will be a single, and then 12 will be on the album. All original music. I'm very excited to be working on that and releasing that either by the end of this year or beginning of next.
so you sing on it, but you also play flute on it
hmm Yeah,
and
so
guitar?
yeah, so I sing on it and I have layered flute harmonies
Cool.
throughout maybe like half of the songs on there. And yeah, that's my full band with like guitars like ukulele, bass, keys, drums, background vocals,
Amazing.
and
Can you
then for
describe a little bit of the recording the recording process?
yeah, so I have been working with Jeff Berklee at Studio West and he's producing the album with me. Very fortunate to be working with him and
Mm.
um so we started recording the full band. Um, we recorded a couple takes of every song with everyone playing.
In Boston?
Um,
No.
oh, sorry, in San Diego.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I went in to do some guitar overdubs with my guitarist to add more layers. And then we did some percussion overdubs, and we did a couple keys overdubs. Then I recorded my flute harmonies at home. And then I went in and did a session with two fabulous background vocalists. And yeah, and then of course I recorded my vocals and my vocal harmonies in the studio, and Jeff puts it all together, does all the editing and the mixing, and right now we're just in the mixing phase.
Amazing. So in what way is this different than your former albums?
So this my former album is my jazz project. So this is my pop singer-songwriter project. This is the first record that I'm putting out that is truest to my artistic blueprint and where I originally came from as a songwriter musically.
Mm.
So I am especially excited to be putting this out into the world because this is basically the album that I've dreamed of putting out since I was a kid.
Wow, that's amazing. Cool.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna go on the road with it, I hope, right? You're gonna perform it
I
in
hope
different I
so.
mean,
Yeah. I don't have anything in the works yet, but I hope that plans will form, as I get further along or as I get closer to releasing the album.
right. Yeah. First the
Uh,
mix and then the masters and then
yes.
yeah, it's months work.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. My songs are my diary, and my mission is to share my life's experiences in the hopes, well, not just in the hopes, but in the knowing that other people will be able to relate to my stories. Um, and I have always felt like when when other people share their stories through their music, it's like they're extending out their hand, and it's like it gives you a hand to hold on to know that like you're not alone in whatever you're experiencing, and I want people to feel that in my music through my stories.
I think that's really beautiful. I cannot wait to
Thank
hear it.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for being on my podcast. It's been so
Yes,
fun to
thank you
hear.
so
And
much for
all the
having
links
me.
and descriptions, we can put everything you know,
Great.
in the bottom, wherever it is. I don't know. So
Awesome.
people
Thank
can
you.
check you out and listen and stay tuned for that new album. I'm excited to hear that because
Yay.
I love your former albums. Yeah,
Oh,
that's.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
As I conclude this episode of ViviTalks, I want to express my sincere gratitude for joining me in this musical journey. I hope you enjoyed exploring the stories and experiences of the incredible female musicians on my album. To stay updated on our latest episodes, subscribe to ViviTalks on your favorite podcast platform. Connect with me on social media through Vivica, and please check out my album Type of Thing, a musical exchange featuring 100 female musicians to empower female cacao farmers of Virunga State Park in Congo. It's about more than just music. It's about making a positive impact in the world. Your support is part of that journey, so thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, keep celebrating the power of music, and let's continue to amplify the voices of remarkable women in the industry. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep the music flowing. With love and gratitude. Till soon.